It's about that time of day again here, boys and girls. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Tonight is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2014. Boy, do we have another big day of learning and earning today with our students in the trade room. If you're a member with me in our live trade room, hats off to you guys here today. Made some great money today, did a whole bunch of great stuff in our trade room today. If you're not a member of our trade room right now, make sure you take me up on that free pass. Come out and join me as a student here at School of Trade. We've had a fantastic week so far, and this newsletter just keeps on knocking this stuff out the park this week. Boy, summertime, what? I'll tell you right now, if this is what summer is all about right now, I'll keep it summer all year long, boys and girls. It's been a great week. It's been a great month of July. Hope you guys had a great day as well. All right, what's on schedule here for tonight? Three things. First, we'll take a look at what happened today. Second, we'll grab a look at tomorrow's schedule, so we're ready for that. And then third, tonight, we're going to roll those sleeves up, we're going to grab our charts, and we are going to prepare with strategies for bullish, bearish, and sideways tomorrow. By the end of this newsletter video tonight, you will know exactly what happened today, and you will be ready for all the news events tomorrow, as well as whether we go higher, lower, or sideways. We've got you covered here tonight. All right, let's roll those sleeves up and get started here. Before we jump into our first chart, I do want to remind you here, though, if you're not watching this video right now over on our blog, make sure you get over to sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube page, there's a link right below the video. Follow that link. Get on over here to sidewaysmarkets.com because we got three important things here for you today. First of all, right below the video, there is a link to download all of the charts, all right? Take me up on this, guys. Very, very easy. You can get your hands on all the charts I'm talking about here tonight by clicking on that link below the video and then click on Save, right, and download those charts. Second thing is here, upper left-hand corner, I have a special free pass for everybody out there tonight. If you're watching this newsletter, take me up on this offer as well, upper left-hand corner. Free pass to come out and join me in my trade room tomorrow. And of course, you might be wondering how we use this material to profit every day. I'm going to show it to you in real time, show you how we actually use these newsletter charts the following day to make profit in our trade room. And of course, if you're a fan of the newsletter, I hope you are. I work very hard on this every evening. If you're a fan of the newsletter and you'd like to get an email whenever the newsletter is posted every evening, all I need is your name and your email address on the left-hand side of the blog. That way you no longer have to check back and see when it's been posted. I will send you an email letting you know exactly when the newsletter goes live on our blog. All right, guys? So three things here. Over at Sideways Markets, download the charts for today below the video. Grab a copy of your free pass and register to be a member of our nightly newsletter list. That way you've got it covered every day of the week. All right, looking good here, looking good. Let's get started here now. Moving forward, what happened today? What happened today? Well, of course, we got continued fighting in both Gaza and Ukraine. We heard today, just today alone, we heard about two or three more fighter jets shot out of the sky here. Maybe it came from Russia, maybe it came from Ukraine, who the hell knows. But amazing though, the markets have held steady in a relatively quiet session for the E-minis, and we'll talk more about why it was so quiet, but a relatively quiet session. We had the S&P nudging higher, Dow ended up fractionally lower, the E-mini Russell, which is my favorite E-mini, traded pretty much right in the middle of its range today, pushing slightly higher. But oil, though, I'll tell you, though, crude oil was the big mover today, and we're going to talk about how we nailed that trade call from last night. So, boy, last night's call on crude, buying that 102, we got you guys at least $1,000 per contract on that trade call. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But again, fighting continues. We had very little news on the calendar today, so all eyes and ears were on Gaza and Ukraine. And as you can see here, with the gold market right in front of me right now, gold sits right in the middle still. Clearly, this gold is a great indication that nobody's really worried about this violence right now. It's really amazing how the markets have kind of shrugged off all this violence. You know, it feels kind of like the boy who cried wolf. I talked about yesterday how sad it was that we seem to have moved on past this. All these poor people who perished on this airplane that was shot out of the sky last Thursday, and again using the gold market as a barometer for this, it's very easy to see these markets have pretty much moved forward. It doesn't look like they're worried about this right now. It looks like they're cautious, right? They're obviously cautious. We had some pretty slow price action today, but we also didn't have much news today either. I would think at this point, though, we are so used to hearing about this violence in the Middle East, it sounds like the boy who cried wolf. Right? After you cry wolf a few times, okay, yeah, there's always a wolf out there, right? It seems like at this point we've become numb, right, to the violence that's happening in the Middle East right now. Not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we do know that it's been a few days since we've had any new information come out, so we will continue to listen in. Right now, though, gold giving us a really strong clue here that we are definitely not scared right now, because if the fear was out there, this gold would be pushing higher. So we kind of use gold as a little bit of a barometer here, kind of a finger on the pulse of the fear factor around the world right now. And we can see we're just about 1,300, still right in the middle of this range here. We haven't seen much personality on gold all week here this week. It's been about 2 months since we've seen some good personality on gold. Luckily, we trade a methodology. Our strategies work on everything. So if gold's not moving, I'll trade crude, trade Russell, Dow, S&P. I don't care what I trade. Whatever's moving, we'll trade. And you can see here, looking forward here on the 32 anchor on gold, now we move from a daily chart right now to a much faster time frame. Our anchor charts here, the 32 anchor, you can see we are still right inside of this range. If you followed our advice yesterday evening, you sold that high here this morning on gold. So we're buying lows, we're selling highs on gold right now. I've got sell zones overhead, 19.8. Buy zones below, 99.8. Notice that's right around that 1,300 big round number. You'll also notice there's a slight bearish tone to it right now, right? Get a slight bearish tone to it. We are getting some lower lows right now, but let's see if we can get a lower low below the real low, right? Down around 92.7. That's the key right now. So we're trading sideways on gold, a slightly bearish tone. I will continue to recommend we buy these lows and we sell these highs, right? A range-bound market, a consolidating market, I should say. We're going to buy those lows, we're going to sell those highs, and we're going to avoid those middles. Now, one thing that we do notice here is we're starting to get really tight here, right? Like a tiger at the end of this little wedge here. And so you can see, I like gold, right? Yeah, exactly, you like gold. We're having some fun with you, Austin. And so we got this narrowing wedge here, right? This narrowing wedge. And you know what happens when these wedges get really narrow, right? It's like da-dunk, 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 boom, right? All of a sudden, we're going to get this huge move, right, that will move out of this range. So be aware. Another day or so of this, and we're going to be destined to get something, right, that pops here. We got 1,300 big round number below us, a slightly bearish tone. It doesn't make much sense at all. With all this fighting going on in the world we live in right now, it makes no sense. But again, it kind of feels like the markets have moved on. I know it seems crazy, right? It is a little bit crazy, but boy, the boy who cried wolf, right? Too much violence. We're numb to it apparently right now, or there's something big coming that we don't know about. And so we know this narrowing wedge, get ready for that, ba-bam, right? That big breakout here coming soon. You've got your buy zones below, you've got your sell zones above, buy those lows, sell those highs. And again, with a bearish tone to the market right now, it would be advisable here, I would choose to sell the high before I choose to buy the low. Now, I still think you're going to have plenty of success buying lows and selling highs, right? I'll still think you're going to have plenty of success there buying lows and selling highs. So I wouldn't put it past us to buy those lows still. But if I had only one bullet left in the gun, if I had to choose what direction, I would choose the downside right now, because you get the big round number of 1,300. You've also got this slightly bearish tone to it. You can see here, drawing in our wedge pattern here, right, our triangle or our wedge right now, you can see it's easy to find the wedge, and it's easy to see here we're getting narrower and narrower. So err on the side of the sell side, stay the heck away from this middle 1307 area. If we get a jump up, I'm looking to sell it down. If we get a move lower, I'm looking to buy the low. You can see here we've kind of outlined this this bear channel. You know, in all reality, I'm doing the best I can right now to find out where we may have some targets here to the downside. So if we do get the short off the high, use that low of that channel. If we do get the buy off the low, right, use that trend line and use the top of that channel, right, for your target overhead. Don't forget, these markets do move quickly during the day. Anything can change this market personality. If you want real-time charts, if you want real-time trade calls, come out and see me tomorrow morning in my trade room. We have been knocking this stuff out the park over the past few months in my trade room. So definitely come out and join me in the trade room if you guys want more real-time information. Alrighty? Moving forward here. Now, I've been talking about this for a few weeks now here. The Russell is in a really tough spot here. We've got the Russell kind of stuck in the mud right now, right? We're stuck between the overhead resistance. We've got support below, right around this 1150 area here right now. This has been the challenge ever since the 11th, right? So, boy, yeah, almost 2 full weeks ago, we started getting into that trouble there, below the short-term moving averages, above the long-term moving averages. Now today, if you zoom in on this, you can see we were exactly correct on this, expecting price to go higher today, but ready for the price to bounce and then drop back down. So if you recall from last night's newsletter, I was talking about this transitional area here and that anything can really happen. And it's because we're stuck between these two, one level of support and one level of resistance. And while the rest of the E-minis, you had the S&P flirting with new highs, the NASDAQ, I think the NASDAQ might just be binging on something right now because it is just continuing to retest new high after new high after new high. So difficult to tell what the NASDAQ is on right now. I'd like to get a pinch of that stuff because it seems like the NASDAQ is still continuing. It's like, what violence? What concerns? The NASDAQ continues to push higher here. So the Russell is a little bit of the oddball out right now because everything else pushing new highs right now. So the Russell is desperate to play catch up right now, but you can definitely see, though, it's really struggling to get free of this area right now. All right, so Russell pushed higher today, but still not free of this area right now. On the daily chart, we're stuck between major support and major resistance. As we go higher, I've got resistance. As we go lower, I've got support. And as you can see, we are smack dab in the middle of this big range. And you know what Mama says. Don't fiddle with the middle, right? So we know this is going to be a challenging area no matter what we're doing right now. No matter what we're seeing right now, this is going to continue to be a pretty challenging area. Now, if you're with me last night, not much has changed. If you recall last night, my exact words were, here we are at the top of this bear channel. See this big bear channel, right? Top of the bear channel. We had resistance up here in the form of symmetry. Okay, so we knew that this was going to be tough. We knew that we had a higher high. We were above all the moving averages, so we knew that we had the potential of pushing higher, right? And remember, right about now, summertime trading, really, market can get really slow, and then on low volume, the market can just take off in any direction it wants. So we have to remember, this could have just taken off to the upside today. So we were actually buying in our trade room today because, again, in the next chart I'm going to show you, you'll see why we were buying earlier on. But the reality is, though, we knew at any moment here this could just tumble. All right, we got symmetry resistance up at the top of this channel. It's very easy to see why I'm concerned right now. And if you just looked at this chart, you'd be bullish. But if you combine this with the daily chart I just showed you and you see what the past few weeks have looked like, it's really difficult for me just to go all in, let's get the buy-in, right? Because we know, we've seen this before. So until we get that personality that says, nope, sellers, goodbye, buyers in charge, until we get that personality for a day and a half or so, I've got to be on that transitional side right now. We're buying right now cautiously. Very carefully we're buying right now, but we're keeping our eyes wide open because the minute those buyers start failing, you can see this could easily tumble off these highs. Notice here we do have a trend line drawn up the gut here, right up the middle there. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for price to tumble below these key moving averages, and then I get some great targets in store for us going lower. So targets here at 41s, targets at 30.6, 22.7, and then somewhere down here at the low of this channel, 11.15 or so. Okay, so that's where I've got my long-term targets here. As you can see, though, we get a lot of important levels of resistance overhead. I will be using those as profit targets as we buy. But again, I'm keeping a really close eye on this right now because could this be the first leg or the head of a Head and Shoulders? Might be. We'll wait and see tomorrow. But again, I wouldn't be surprised here if we go either direction. I really wouldn't be surprised. All right. My patriotic self says I'm going to be a buyer right now, and I'll always cheer on the equity markets, obviously. But at the same time, though, as a trader, I'm not going to worry about what direction it goes in. I'm going to worry about what's my personality, what's my trend. Right now, we can see trend is up. So right now, trend is up. I'm looking to be a buyer, but I'm cautiously buying. I'm waiting for that sign of the crack in the sidewalk here before we roll over, right, and tumble. So as you're buying here right now, use these areas of resistance as your targets overhead. Okay, these are your targets overhead. Now, let me show you more here. So now you know what to expect if this price doesn't keep going. Yikes. This chart does not look very fun. All right. This looks like one of those charts you see on YouTube, right, where they get a million indicators, right? You can barely see what this Yahoo's even talking about, right? Well, I think the market's going to go, you know what? I don't know where the market, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? We call those spaghetti charts. You can barely see through all the indicators here. But the reality is you can see where this all comes from. I've got my big long-term bull channel, right? That lines up perfectly. That long-term bull channel is giving me targets, 1160.6, 1167.5. Okay, so I have these targets now overhead based on this long-term bull channel. But then we sneak in this little short-term channel. I told you this Russell is really tough right now. It's got a lot of stuff going on here. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? We're stuck between major resistance. We're stuck between major support. So as it tries to go higher, it gets smacked back down. Tries to go lower, it gets propped back up. We need this market to grab a hold of something and pick a direction and go. Finally, though, we do have ourselves, as I zoom in now, so now you can kind of see the big picture here, we are going to be buying here. I've got three significant buy levels here, three buy zones here, 53.7, 50.4, 47.2. As you can see, though, once we get below this 44.3, 44.5 is the reversal line there, but below 44.3, then I have the freedom now to get to selling short. Now you'll notice if I go back here to the previous chart, we've got 44, what was it again? 44.3 right here, right? So that puts us, as I said earlier, that will put us tumbling off these highs now. Okay, so think about where this all plays into, right, into our hands here. If it goes lower, we got sideways. But the minute we get below that 44.3, look out below. Looking for sellers here, right? Targets as you go lower here. All right, so again, a really challenging area. And if you want to get real-time updates with exact entry calls, come join me tomorrow in the trade room because this undoubtedly will get shaken up a little bit tomorrow. We got a lot of news to worry about, which we'll talk about in a moment. So I got a bunch of buyers, got a bunch of buy zones here as we pull back, right? As we pull back, okay? So keep that in mind. Zooming in a little bit closer here, and now you can begin to see where I got this information from. You can see this short-term channel that we drew in here. And we are literally right on the button right now for buying. So green light right now. We're testing one of our buy zones right now as we speak. If we do happen to go lower, that's fine by me. I have another buy zone here at 50.4 to 49.3, and then one more down here at this 44.3, right? And then there's your big line in the sand, 44.3. So I hope this wasn't too complex tonight. There's a lot going on in this chart right now. And remember, boys and girls, if you want to get more clarification on this, just come out and join me tomorrow in the trade room. I'll walk you right through the whole thing, and keep in mind we teach all of our students exactly the techniques that I'm using to find all this. All right, I'm not making this up because of magic. These are all simple techniques we teach to all of our students in the trade room here at School of Trade. So buying here right now, looking good to buy right now. We get another shot here to buy at the secondary level, and of course the low of that channel. Another third option to buy here, and then looking to sell short below 44.3. All right, so be patient here in the Russell. Looking for buys here right now, but again, I just got to mention one more time, we are still going to be optimistic here, but we're cautiously optimistic about the buyers in the Russell right now. We know that at any moment the bottom can fall out of it, and we'll be looking for the short side. All right. Speaking of the bottom falling out of it, well, or maybe the opposite of that, crude oil here. Boy, what a crazy market crude has been the past few weeks. Today on crude, another big mover. Went all the way from 102 to 103.20 here this morning. We were riding it the entire way up in the trade room this morning. As I zoom in on this, look at these daily candlesticks right now. Right? You've got big green, big red, literally back and forth. Big red candle followed by big green candle, followed by big red candle. That makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, when you think about what's happening right now with this war going on, Ukraine, and of course Gaza, it's very difficult for me to think, why aren't we at 107 right now? Right? Why aren't we back to those highs, right, from last month? It baffles me. It really does baffle me. I'll tell you, the old school crude oil, even a whisper of the word Gaza or Ukraine, we'd be at 110, 115. So again, I hate the fact that we've automatically just moved on, right, past this senseless violence, but it does feel like these markets have just moved on. Right? They've moved on. Apparently, it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. It's a good thing, obviously, if you're filling up your gas tank, but if you care about human life, not that great of a thing, I guess. So looking at crude right now, you can see we do not have any real levels on the daily chart. Now, the daily chart, remember, the daily chart's a good way for me to explain to you what happened today and kind of set up the stage here. I'm not going to use the daily chart to intraday trade. If you're a day trader, I'm not going to use the daily chart for that. But I can definitely see, though, right now, look, there's nothing here. I've got a support level down below, a resistance level above. I got a big round number here at 102. We're stuck, right? We are, for the most part here, up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, in the short term, though, we're going higher. Now, if you missed last night's newsletter, you missed a chance to make over $1,000 per contract on that one trade we called last night. Go back. Don't take my word for it here, kids. Don't take my word for it. You can't believe everything you see on the internet these days. Go back and watch last night's newsletter. Last night's newsletter, my exact words were, right now we have to be buying here on crude, and that's exactly what happened. Everyone thought I was crazy yesterday when I said, no, we're being a buyer, we're buying. They said, really? It's selling off here, Joe. I said, well, it's selling off. You call it selling off, I call it pulling back right into my buy zone. And that's exactly what we teach our students at School of Trade. We've been doing this for a decade now here at School of Trade, giving you the smart buy. If you bought up top here, you lost your shirt. If you waited for price to pull back into my buy zone and took it there, well, again, over $1,000, over $1,200 per contract, and I have targets waiting for you right now at 103.45, 103.70, 104.24, and the 104.88. Now, here's the problem. The easy money is gone, all right? You missed the easy money. Next time, make sure you pay attention, and next time, make sure you're ready with me in the trade room. All right, but we missed the easy money. Well, shouldn't say we missed it. We got it, but if you're getting into it late now, you've missed it. All right, this is not the time to be buying this market right now on crude. I'm going to give you some more information a little bit later here with next chart, but right now we have a very interesting scenario right now. Let's think about this for a second. What if price goes higher? What if price goes lower? What if price goes sideways? If price goes lower, we have a sideways range. All right, I'm going to use the 103.45 down to the 101.74. If price goes lower, or basically this way, think of it this way. If it doesn't make new highs right now, we now have a big concern. Well, not a big concern, but the personality will change. So really right now, everything I need to know on crude is hinging on these buyers. Because here's what's going to happen. If we go higher here, I'm then going to have the green light now to wait for a pullback, just like we did yesterday. It'll be the exact same thing that we did today. So the first thing is everything hinges at this 103.45 area. If we go to a new higher high, now that tells me the buyers are still here. I'm waiting for a pullback, and I'll have to give you that updated area tomorrow morning in my trade room. So unfortunately, I can't predict where it goes tomorrow. I know I'm good, but I'm not that darn good. So we need to wait for tomorrow morning or later on tonight to see if we do get that higher high. If we get the higher high, I'm then going to give you some guidance to tell you where to get into the long again. So that will be one of the perks of being with me tomorrow in the trade room. If we don't make a higher high, now we got to be careful. Okay, if we don't make a higher high above 103.45, now this becomes a range. 103.45 down to 101.74. This becomes your range. Buy lows, sell highs. Buy lows, sell highs. I think the biggest thing you're going to see be the problem tomorrow is if we don't make new higher highs, it's going to be sloppy trying to buy again. So again, if you missed the buy from last night's newsletter, okay, make sure you're with me next time. And in the meantime here, we need to wait patiently because without a new higher high, I have no confirmation these buyers are still here right now. I know that we got into the move here at 102. We've had some great profit along the way here, but we need to see more. If you're already in this move, just hold on tight. But if you're trying to re-enter on this, you're crazy, right? You are padded sell crazy if you're trying to buy right now on crude. All right? Now, obviously, if it keeps going higher, you buy right now, you'll get lucky. But what I'm worried about here is these buyers don't right? They're not as perky as they were this morning. They pull back here before they go higher again. Okay? So if you buy right now, you're going to be in a world of hurt if these buyers don't continue. Okay? It's easy to think, yeah, sure, they'll probably go higher, but how do you know that? I mean, seriously, how do you know? It's impossible to know for sure right now. So again, you know me. I want to buy in an uptrend. Right now we have an uptrend, but I want to buy at a discount. And right now we are not at a discounted price. We would be buying at a premium. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to give you some updated information here on crude, and hopefully we'll have a chance here to get some more buyers going here. Last but not least, here's a real ugly chart of crude. You can kind of see exactly what I was talking about on that 32 anchor. You can see here how this now is my range. Right, 101.79, 103.45. Here's my range now. So here's what I recommend. I'm bullish, obviously, right now, so I am going to be a buyer. But I'm not going to be a buyer here until I see a new higher high. If you're already in the long, you've got targets above here. Okay, I've already given you guys those a few times now. So those are our profit targets above. If you're long already, hold on to it, all right, and see if these targets can get filled. Another option here, though, would be for a sell. You'll notice here, this is the same sell zone I gave you last night. So if you're wondering, where should we have taken profit? You got it right there at that sell zone. Buy in a buy zone, take profit in the sell zone. It's not rocket science, guys. It's called day trading. Now, if price collapses here, we have targets below us now. Okay, so if we can't go higher, if we end up rolling over and collapsing, I've given you two areas to be a buyer or to cover your shorts. All right, but again, without a new higher high, I have a hard time recommending you buy right now. So these zones below me are not necessarily buy zones. They are target zones right now if we fail and go back lower. All right, keep that in mind. Keep it in mind. All right, it'd be very easy for these buyers to take a pit stop, right, and then collapse back down. And keep in mind, though, selling short will be counter trend. It'll be a little bit lower percentage trade. So my number one priority right now is I'm waiting to see what happens next. If we make a new higher high, then we get the green light here to keep buying. I'll give you updated information tomorrow morning in my trade room. If we do not make a new higher high, if we happen to stall out here, look for a counter trend short down to 102.38, 102.57, 102.12, and then, of course, all the way down here to that low at 101.79, and then below 101.79, now we have the chance here now to get short. All right, guys, come back and see me again tomorrow morning. My live trade room opens up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be giving you guys real-time updates on this. Again, the easy money has already been made here on the crude. Now we're waiting to see, are these buyers going to finish the job, or are they going to make us wait here inside of this sideways range? We'll have to wait and see what tomorrow brings. Last but not least here, let's get ready for tomorrow. News. We got a lot of news in the schedule for tomorrow, guys. We had a real quiet day today. All we had was that inventory report today at 10:30, and just like we said last time in the newsletter, it was quiet on crude until we got about 10:30, and then everything started to get pretty active out there on crude today. So very good job today on crude if you waited patiently until after 10:30. Moving forward here, though, we got major news tonight. I've got Japanese merchandise trade, we've got manufacturing, and we've got manufacturing of China. All right, heads up on that Chinese news, guys. Manufacturing report out of China tonight at 9:45. That should get the Asian session going very, very nicely. And then you'll see here we've got news tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and 4:30. Wow, a lot of news here on the calendar for tomorrow. And that, of course, is Thursday, July 24th. Not the end of the month. Remember, we got one more week next week here in July, so we're not going into the month here. But we do see, though, we got news at 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and 4:30. Now, whenever I see a big cluster of this Red Star news in the London trading session, the first thing I think of is have fun tomorrow morning if you're trading London. From 3 a.m. until 7 a.m. Eastern Time, if you're trading London, boy, I'll tell you, I wish I could trade London. It's a little bit too early for me on the west coast of the U.S., but it's the very, very good time zone to be trading from. And I'll tell you guys, be ready for the action tomorrow morning starting at 3 a.m. The second thing I think of, and the second thing I'll remind you about is, if you're like myself and you live in the United States, or if you just cannot trade the London session, if you're going to be trading the U.S. session tomorrow morning, which gets started around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time, if you're trading the U.S. session, remember to check your averages before you take your first trade. What does that mean? It means I'm expecting to see some big moves between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. Now, if you're a member of mine, you probably already know what I'm saying right now, right? But remember, if we see big moves in the London session and the average daily move for crude oil is only 150 ticks, and we move 160 ticks over London session, we're not going to expect a lot more going into the U.S. session. So watch your ranges tomorrow morning as we go into the U.S. session. So at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll open up my trade room. I'll take a look at how much movement we had from 3 a.m. until 7 a.m. Then I'll compare that to the average daily range. On crude, it's about 135 ticks right now. About 100, I think it was like 140 ticks right now is the average daily move. If we see tomorrow morning, if we're above 140 ticks at 8 a.m., we know there's a big red flag on our charts. So come out again and see me tomorrow morning, because in tomorrow morning's opening bell, right, we'll look at all that stuff. But right now, I remind you guys, though, watch your ranges tomorrow morning if you're going into the U.S. session, because all that big news coming out of London typically will result in big moves before the U.S. opening bell rings, and that tells us to expect a little bit different of a personality as we go into the U.S. session. Moving forward, we jump into 8:30 jobless claims. We go from 8:30 till 9:45. We got PMI manufacturing. We've got the comfort index. Just sounds great, right? But a very small news report there at 9:45. The big news tomorrow, though, will be new home sales. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, the big news tomorrow, nobody cares about jobless claims anymore, right? The jobless claims report is a joke right now. Nobody gives any, it gives you very little movement. Nobody's reacting to it right now because everybody knows the economy's not back on track. People are either leaving the job force, they're choosing not to go find a new job, they're taking 3 part-time jobs to supplement 1 full-time job. It's just not, the jobless claims numbers they're a joke, all right? They're a joke, okay? People are leaving the job force, they're not getting a job. So what we're looking for tomorrow is new home sales. Now, if you remember, earlier this week, we saw a stellar existing home sales. Last month, we saw I think it was a record-breaking number in June for new home sales, if my memory is correct here. So if we can get back-to-back housing numbers that are bullish here this week, you will see a good reaction from that 10 o'clock news tomorrow. All right, so don't say I didn't warn you. I'll definitely be interested in the jobless claims news tomorrow, but again, everybody's hip to the whole thing now, right? Nobody really takes these things seriously right now. The big news tomorrow is our new home sales, because we're trying to put together a string of existing and new home sales numbers that are, well, remember, my personal opinion is when people have jobs, they go to the shopping malls. They spend money, retail sales. When people have jobs that they're confident about, they buy homes. All right, so retail sales have been very bullish over the past 3, 4, 5 months, ever since Mother Nature, right, stopped unloading on us, right, in the month of March or so. And so now we're wondering, okay, are these consumers who are confident enough to go to the shopping mall and spend their money on clothes and, right, and goods and services, are they going to now step their game up and buy a home, right? So that's the next thing now. Those new home sales, very, very popular in the Midwest right now, Texas, right? A lot of these new housing communities being built right now, and they're single families. So very, very important news tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. tomorrow in the U.S. If you're a natty gas trader, you get inventories tomorrow at 10:30. Very minor news at 11 o'clock. And then, of course, we got major news tomorrow night, all right, from Japan. Which reminds me, I am going to be out of the office tomorrow afternoon, so this will be my last newsletter of the week here for you. I don't do them on Fridays, so Monday through Thursday for the newsletter. But I've got to be in a bunch of meetings tomorrow afternoon, back to back to back to back. One of the downsides of running your own fund, you've always got to meet with attorneys each month. So I'll be dealing with the suits tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. So this will be my last newsletter for you guys this week. We've had a fantastic newsletter this week. I mean, we have killed this thing from every angle. Don't forget, boys and girls, go to the blog here, download my charts for today, grab a copy of your free pass to come out and see me in the trade room, and register for your nightly newsletter. All right, guys? Don't let me down. Share this with a friend, and have a great evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning in our live trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I will not be sending out the newsletter for Thursday evening. So come out and join me tomorrow for real-time updates. And don't forget, we'll learn it so we can earn it. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Monday. Again, I won't be here for tomorrow's newsletter, so next time I'll see you will be Monday night. If you don't want to wait that long for the next newsletter, what are you waiting for? Come out and join me as a student here at School of Trade. We offer a free trial. We got 3 levels of membership here at School of Trade, and we have been teaching and trading in our trade room for over 10 years, guys. We must be doing something right. The longest running trading, teaching and trading site on the web right now. I'll prove it to you why we're so good. Join that free trial. You will not be disappointed. My name is Joseph. From the entire team here at our corporate headquarters in Los Angeles, California, thank you so much for logging in and sticking around me tonight. I'll see you guys on Monday, if not tomorrow morning in my live trade room. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.